Hi, my name is Maya. I'm a production design major, and my story follows the main character, Bess, and her two best friends, Hugh and Fletcher. It takes place in the 22nd century after solar flares wiped out technology. And it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic, but actually takes place like after everything has happened and once the world has kind of recovered from it, and it's almost like a new caveman age world. So the overall theme is kind of like acceptance, because Bess and her friends are what are called pickers, and those are people who go through old junkyards and like get scrap metal and old parts of machines and cars and are trying to rebuild cars, despite the fact that the world is very against that. The world is very rejecting of technology and everything involving it. And so the conflict comes when her and her friends finally catch word that the piece for the car that they've been looking for is in a junkyard nearby. They go to it, and as soon as they get it out of the car, my villains come and steal it from them and knock them unconscious and get away. And Bess really, really wants to get it back, because not only is it important to her and her friends, but it's also important to her parents who died when she was younger. So she really wants to get it to prove to herself and to prove to them that she's going to finish the Scylla, which is the name of the car that she's rebuilding. So as the story goes on, she finds her mentor named Hanno, and he kind of tips them off on who these people are, where they can find them, and they take his information and they run with it, and they track down the rival gang of pickers, and kind of fast forward to after all of whatnot. As they're fighting the pickers, trying to get the part back, one of the pickers, who is actually the trickster, kind of switches sides, reveals himself, and explains that he's working for the elite society, which is the higher-ups who are supposedly very much against technology. So he arrests the rival picker gang, and then he sits down with Bess and her friends and explains that even though the elites reject technology, they're actually starting a program where they're going to reinstate it into society, because it's like the only way that they can give help to the people that need it, to be able to supply resources and help with people that are sick. And so then his name is Gerard, the trickster, asks Bess, Hugh, and Fletcher if they would like to work with the elite society in helping reunite the world. And of course they say yes. And then there's like a whole part after about how she's like, oh my gosh, I'm losing my words. There's just like an epilogue afterwards that kind of explains, like, ties up all the loose ends. Anyways, read it if you would like to. So what I found very helpful throughout this course, and especially like involving the story elements, was learning about like rebirth, resolution, like recognition, and that's really helped me, because I've been wanting to write this story for a long time, but I was kind of struggling with like how I would resolve it, like what the end would be. And so I've tried to rewrite it a few times, and I kind of get stuck on the last part with tying everything together. So definitely that part has really helped me. And I got to that point by also the trickster, because it wasn't until I took this class that I kind of really evolved my idea and realized where and how I wanted to go with it, which heavily involves the trickster, Gerard, who before revealing himself as Gerard was known as Kelios, who was part of the rival gang but was actually part of the elite society. So he kind of played like both sides to arrest the bad guys, get as much information as he could, and so on and so forth. So definitely those two elements, I think, are some of the strongest ones, the resolution and the trickster. And they really coincide with each other and work together to really make it a final product. One thing I definitely struggled with was fitting it into 2,000 words, which I didn't do. It ended up being close to 10,000 words, and even that I felt like was a little short for where I wanted to go with the story. As I started writing it, I was getting like through the first scene and I was already at 2,500 words, and I was like, crap, what am I gonna do? So I feel like that's my downfall in this story. Was the beginning was really strong, and then as I was going through it, I realized that I would really need to shorten it down, at least for this assignment, which is what I did, and that's why I think the second half of it seems a little bit rushed, but it's not exactly rushed. It's just I had to foreshorten it. All right, and let's see. So yeah, I think that's basically it. I really enjoyed writing this story, and I really enjoyed reading other people's stories, and of course I'll get back to that in my other discussion posts later on this week, but I also just really enjoyed reading everyone's thoughts on their own stories and like watching them develop them as the course went on. I could definitely tell that I myself was evolving and becoming a better writer throughout this course, and I definitely think that everyone else has as well. I really appreciate that the final project was to write a story, because I've wanted to be a writer for a long time. Well, I guess I have been a writer, but I've wanted to really like prove myself and write something from beginning to end. And I've always struggled with starting a story, writing the first half, like, and then getting stuck on the resolution. And by learning about rebirth and reversal and tricksters has really, really helped me kind of make something feel whole and have a good conclusion. And so I'm just really satisfied with it. All right, thank you so much. Have a good night.